Feelings in Flannel is hosted by us. I'm Adam.
I'm Amelia.
And we are a father-daughter combo who are setting out to debate the merits of love, romance, humor, and faith in rom-coms new and old.
Listen and join us as we seek to name the top 5 rom-coms and discuss masculinity and femininity together and how that plays into role. Make sure to like and subscribe and share it with your friends on social media.
Stay tuned. Here we are, season 2 finale. Feelings in Flannel. It went really fast.
Yeah. I feel like it's episode 11, but to me, I'm like, where did the other 10 come from? I don't know. It feels like it did go by really fast, probably because we had people involved.
Yeah.
Yes, other people, and it felt more like just fun conversation rather than we got to I don't know, come up with our own content, basically, because we relied on what movie they brought and then just talking to them.
Right.
But,
which was great because it forced us to watch a lot of movies that we probably wouldn't have sat down and watched together. So that was great. Achieved that. I think the time felt like it flew by because I feel like all we were doing was trying to find guests and schedule them. And that I just barely remember recording. I just feel like most of what we've been doing is trying to figure out how to get someone here and when. But this is it. We added an episode to season 2 because of Kayla, and that turned out to be a really good decision. That was a great episode. And here we are wrapping season 2. So what do you want to talk about?
well, I mean, I guess probably because it went by so fast. I mean, I felt like I got confused on what actually is our top 5. And we had to come up with a tiebreaker.
We did.
Because we have like 4 movies that were scored 6 out of 7. And I think it also went by so fast because I spent a lot of the time stressing that You've Got Mail was going to be moved again. Because I was like, I will fully admit I will be biased and I will manipulate it to where my movie stays number 3. Because it was number 2, went back to number 3, and then it managed to stay strong right there.
Well, so we should probably recount what happened in season 2. It was a lot that happened, not to mention the attack on my character and integrity. And I appreciate you owning the fact that you were the one manipulating to protect your movie, and I was just trying to protect my daughter. So that's really what happened. For the listener, I'm an innocent man. I have done nothing wrong.
Well, I didn't admit to manipulate. I can't say it. Manipulating the whole thing. I just was going to be a little bit biased on scoring if it meant my movie would be booted, but obviously that failed because it got pushed down to number 3 again. But at least it's still into top 3. I can be okay with that.
Well, maybe so let's run it down. How about that? I'm going to have to look at my phone for this because there's a lot that happened. So we ended, let's recall that, when we started, of course, we, first of all, didn't think anyone was really going to care. We were aiming to have some fun. Turns out people did care, and they didn't even like the way we kind of ended season 1. But we ended season 1 with an order that we began season 2 with. So maybe let's talk about that first. So when season 1 ended, which as a reminder to the listener, season 1 was a head-to-head battle. So there wasn't based on overall score. We weren't trying to move them. But season 1 ended in this order. Number 1 was Pitch Perfect. Number 2 was You've Got Mail. 3 was Hitch. Number 4 was The Proposal. And number 5 was While You Were Sleeping. So we ended season 1 with a unified 5, and that's what it looked like.
I almost forgot about While You Were Sleeping. Because when we were trying to, go back through, I'm like, what was number 5? And I'm like, oh yeah, it was While You Were Sleeping. But I feel like so much happened between then and the end of this season that forgot it was even on the board.
Yeah.
But I liked the Unified 5 from season 1. That was a solid list.
Right. And then
the guests
it all
messed
fell
up.
apart.
I'm just kidding.
Well, in a way, we messed it up first because we decided that what we were going to do, we had went from a head-to-head. And then what we were going to do for season 2, which we did and had guests on, and it was a lot of fun, was just assess them across all 7 criteria, and whichever movie scored the most criteria moved into that rank, which meant really we had to reorder our unified top 5 because we didn't do that. We weren't scoring them that way. We just had your 5, my 5, and we went head to head, and whichever one won took the spot. Mm-hmm. But we went in, so it changed. So when we started season 2, if you remember, we reordered them based on scores.
I do remember, because that's when everything went wrong. That's when You've Got Mail got moved down again to. Well, I guess it didn't move again. It moved once.
It moved once.
It just didn't win season 1, but against Pitch Perfect. So
yeah. So basically that same 5 that we started with, our unified 5, it changed because the proposal scored 7.
Yeah.
Which moved it to second place because Pitch Perfect also scored 7. And that's what you said. It moved You've Got Mail down to number 3. Hitch then was number 4, and While You Were Sleeping was still number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a little bit angst over that, huh?
Angst is a word. It was a lot of heartbreak, a lot of internal crisis, a lot of stress. But
feeling bad for Tom, were you?
Yeah, I was. And apparently, a lot of people don't like Tom Hanks. But I say ignorance is bliss. So
don't dig too deep, and you can be a Tom fan.
I like his movies. That's it.
Especially as war movies.
That's not funny.
It is funny.
I felt quite silly after that one. But there is 2 at least. So I wasn't completely ignorant. I know there was at least 1. Anyway, but I think once we did all the rescoring, that's when it was at least a little bit more fair because there was a lot of inconsistency because at least for me, I forgot half the rules that we made. And then people got pretty mad and somehow you got all the blame for that. So
I did, didn't I? I got all the blame for that, but that's okay. I got broad shoulders.
Yeah. And he's not a bad guy. I defend you.
Apparently, just manipulative.
Not really. It's just, I'm not really sure how that even started, actually. I think it's people were just mad that Pitch Perfect won.
I think your mother started it. I think she started calling people behind the scenes and stirring trouble.
Probably. Her and
she didn't like
Vicky.
Pitch Perfect from the beginning.
No. Well, that's not her style of movie anyway. But anyways, so we did get it reordered, so it's a little bit more fair, at least by number. But then it got a little complicated when we brought guests because 4 of them tied. Well, 2 of ours were already 6 out of 7.
Well, it got complicated before the tie. Yeah, so we started on our season 2 reorder. We started there with 2 ties. You've Got Mail and Hitch both had a 6. But they were all in there. They were already in their places, number 3 and number 4. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're right. If it weren't for the guests, if it weren't for the listener, this would be easy.
Yeah. So like I said, it
would also be a giant waste of money, but whatever. So yeah, we started bringing guests on. Mm-hmm. And getting feedback. Now, what we did in that, of course, everyone remembers because we're wrapping it up now, is just invited guests to say, what movie do you think can make the top 5? They brought it on. We talked about it. We scored through the criteria. That's when it started getting a little shady. Mm-hmm. Allegations of manipulation and backdoor deals, and none of that was actually happening, but that's what the listener believes.
I wonder if that's what it's like for celebrities. everything's twisted in the camera.
Probably. I mean, it's been hard to go to the grocery store since we started this, being recognized and asked for autographs and stuff. And I recall one time I was pumping gas. Someone driving by said, "Pitch Perfect's not a rom-com," shouting while they were driving. And I thought, man, it's just malicious ignorance, honestly. It's hard. It's hard to be popular.
People just don't know how to be kind these days. And I am an introvert. I don't want that attention. I was like, I just want to buy my apples. And then people are like...
Which is probably why our listeners blamed me. They didn't want sure you could handle it. They could see what was happening, but they're like, let's blame the big guy. He can probably take it.
I have broad shoulders, but not a wimp. I can get emotional, yeah. But that doesn't... mean weakness, right?
Well, let's recall what happened when we invited our first guest, which was our family,
right?
Olivia Binkard, and she came and she brought Pretty Woman, and it scored well. In fact, it scored a 6. So it was the first guest out of the gate in season 2 makes the top 5 at number 5. And so that changed. The list started changing then when Liv came with Pretty Woman and scored a 6. So that knocked off While You Were Sleeping. It's gone. And then we ended up with a 3-way tie then. And all was peaceful and all was working well.
Until
Ben Conrad came on.
Which is your choice.
The agent of change, he was called, which I think was some backdoor deals. I think there was people conspiring against us. And I think if you watch Ben's episode, you see it because he said, "I'm not really here to win." I think he was set up by the masses. I think it was funded probably by the Democratic Party. And I think what they were trying to do is torpedo our...
I'm getting nervous now. I know politics are stressful.
That was a joke. If you're a Democrat, my apologies. That wasn't slated towards you in any ways. I am still a registered Democrat. If you got an issue with that, please reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about it. But so many people are judging me right now.
Might as well just give them one more thing.
Like what?
I don't know. They already hate you for some reason.
Well, we're about to give them one more thing when we tell them what the final 5 is.
You're going to get blamed for it, too.
I am going to get blamed for it. And now they're going to blame me because I'm a Democrat.
Hey,
It doesn't even make sense.
You offered up that information, so you can't blame them for that one.
Not really a Democrat or a Republican. Personally, I'm registered as a Democrat. There's a reason. Again, it doesn't matter. That's not what this is about. But it seems that someone was working deals that was funded. I think it was funded. I think Ben Conrad was paid to come on. And Ben, you can keep lying about that if you want, but I think we know you were paid to come on and torpedo our process, and you succeeded because he called for a vote. You remember he sat right across the room here and said, I want the listeners to vote. Should Pitch Perfect be considered a rom-com?
Yep.
And the people spoke. They cried out even.
Yeah. And, I can't even be mad at Ben for that. So you can, but I got what I wanted in the end. So Ben is really he is an agent of change for me. He's my hero at this point.
He's your hero?
Yep.
Wow. And then a hero came along.
That's a good song.
Yeah, I wasn't upset about it because, as I've said all along, I have very little sentimental tie to this 5. If it moves, it moves. It didn't matter to me. In fact, what I was most encouraged by was how many people voted. So I think it was great that Ben called for something that got the listeners to engage, and we're going to call you to do that again in this episode. So we need you to pay attention to the end because we need your help. We're going to ask you to engage and give us some feedback. But that changed it when Ben did that. So what happened then was we had to remove Pitch Perfect from its standing at number 1, which was anchored in very well. I'm not pretty sure it wasn't going to be beat by anything, but it was taken down because the listener says it's not a rom-com. So then we ended up with our mid-season reorder, which was now the proposal moves to number 1 because it was in 2. And that moved, at that time, You've Got Mail to number 2, Hitch to 3, and Pretty Woman to 5. And that happened when we had Pastor Mike Jr. on. He brought a movie that scored very well. And what you thought was helping you move You Got Mail to number 2, Junior brought You Can't Buy Me Love, scored a 6.5, and reordered it again. So the vote happened. We moved Pitch Perfect off. It reordered. You thought you'd gained a spot, and then Mike comes in with a 6.5 and reorders us to The Proposal at number 1. Then Mike's movie, Can't Buy Me Love. And then we're back to You've Got Mail, Hitch, and Pretty Woman, who all scored a 6.
I did not see Pastor Mike's episode coming. I really thought it was going to be at maybe a 6. I'm like, okay, we'll just have to deal with another tie. And I think if I remember right, in the episode when they said, okay, you said, okay, you got a 6.5. I was just like, yep. And then no, it was just like, oh no.
I remember the moment it washed over your face.
Yeah, I do too.
Although I think you didn't see it coming because your heart had been squeezed so much that you were at risk of really
being generous.
Cardiac arrest.
Yeah. And so really, that's a manipulation. I think I was manipulated.
You think by Mike Jr.?
Yep. He knew.
Call him out. Look him in his eyeballs and tell him.
I don't know if I can do that. That's my pastor. He teaches me things about the Lord. But, I mean, he did know that I have a soft spot for all things around the love story. And he shared intentionally, I believe, things that I knew it would throw me off my game.
Yeah, he came at you, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm still waiting to hear or see that video of them doing the car washing thing. I haven't forgotten about that because
that was for their 30th. That's 4 years from now. You're going to be waiting for 4 years.
Sorry, I forgot about that part. I just was focused on that. But yeah, he did change it. But I did like that movie.
Favorite Mike Jr. moment? That was a great episode.
Yeah.
Favorite moment during that episode for you?
My favorite moment? I thought you were saying yours. I think my favorite is hearing him talk about him and Tanya, their relationship. But also when he was like, the shift. Yes.
Yeah, my favorite is the notes. 4 or 5 pages of notes that this man brought. And when you said, let's do the shift, he said, yes. The shift. And he started rifling through his notes to find his points. That was epic. And we say that constantly at home. Yes, the shift.
And I think
every time it happens in a movie, in fact, if we're watching a movie, usually when it happens, that's the comment. So to you, Mike Jr., thank you. You've brought us a one-liner at home that unifies us in a moment.
Which, ironically, he does that in preaching. One-liners that you're just like, boom.
Yeah, he's good at those.
That's his. But I mean, I feel like he deserved that number 2 spot just because of how prepared he came, which is also unfair because he takes notes for part of his living. So anyway, I was upset that You've Got Mail moved, but I do like that movie. Now, not more than the movies that it's above. I don't like it more than those movies, but it is good. Yeah,
and we did it. Despite the listener's belief, we did it in the most analytical way we could by scoring those criteria. So that changed it, but that puts us now, we're ready to talk about the final top 5.
Yep.
We resolved the tie. When Mike Jr. brought that, we ended up with a 3-way tie between You've Got Mail, Hitch, and Pretty Woman. And we also had 2 more guests that brought movies that scored a 6. Aiden was on and brought Zookeeper. Mm-hmm. He made a case and scored a 6. He did a great job. And then we had How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, which was brought by Kayla, who also did a great job, scored a 6, advocated for 6.25, and we ran out of time. And so
conveniently,
what we end up with is a 5-way tie at 6.
Yeah.
So you and I had to decide a tiebreaker to determine the final 5. What'd we do?
We chose.
Let me run the 5 down again.
Okay.
The tie is between You've Got Mail, in this order: You've Got Mail, Hitch, Pretty Woman, Zookeeper, and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. All of those scored 6.
Oh, that was the tie. I thought you were listing our top 5. I'm
Nope.
like, that was mega wrong, but
Nope.
I see what you're saying.
That was the tie, and we had to decide how to break the tie. And what did we decide?
Well, it's our show, and we can do what we want. So we chose which one we liked more. But it's not without good reason, because You've Got Mail, Pretty Woman, and Hitch were already in the top 5. So to me, in my head, their spots were already locked in. Now, Zookeeper and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days were kind of the bonus ones of like, how are we going to fit them in? And the answer is we didn't. You get an honorable mention. And it was a great effort. You got 6 out of 7, but the 3 that were already in there already locked in, so we might as well just keep it.
So really what we did was You Got Mail and Hitch had been in from the beginning, so they held their spots because they were already there. And then we looked at Pretty Woman, Zookeeper, and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and just at face value said, which one do we like more?
Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman.
Plus, it's a classic.
It's a classic movie. It's hard not to put that one. I don't know that the audience will disagree. Of course, barring Aiden and Kayla.
I think Kayla.
So
might
sorry,
revolt.
Kayla. And if your friends are coming for me,
Justice for Kayla.
yeah. Hashtag Justice for Kayla was started after her episode aired, and we're so sorry for those of you who are carrying that banner. Please don't slash my tires.
Oh boy.
But yeah, we that's where we're at. So we ended up with a season 2 final 5 of number 1, The Proposal. Number 2, Can't Buy Me Love. Number 3, You've Got Mail. Number 4 was Hitch. And number 5 was Pretty Woman. We're saying that is the top 5 rom-coms of our entire 2-season discussion. And we confidently say, too, that any couple can enjoy watching those movies together.
Yep.
There's components in both. And then an honorable mention, of course, to Zookeeper and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, bringing up the honorable mention spot in no particular order. So there we go. That's what season 2 was. That's where we landed. We set out in season 1 to talk about the merits of love and romance and humor and faith in rom-coms, both new and old. And we did it. We talked about masculinity and femininity. And you want to try saying that?
Listen, I am not kidding. I love watching every episode, but I skip the intro every time because I am so embarrassed by the way I started to say femininity, and then my tongue and my brain gave up halfway through, and it's like femininity. I can't finish the intro. I skip it because it hurts my soul every time. It's
like your tongue swelled up in that moment.
Femininity. Yeah, I can't. So femininity, I redeem myself. But I'm impressed that you remember that whole intro.
Well, I wrote it. So.
Yeah, but still, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's something. But we did it. I guess, as we talked through this in season 1, it was just you and I, and we were talking through a lot of different things and hoping that in some way we brought some sort of value to couples out there, or even singles looking to, enjoy movies together, specifically in this genre. And I think we did it. Honestly, we had both male and female guests, and we've heard a lot. In fact, I'd say the most vocal listeners have been the men, which was totally unexpected.
Definitely.
And I think this is a list that represents both sides of that coin around gender, and that's cool. So that was great. I had a blast. It was a great time. I like the 5 we ended up with. We could have made a top 10 as well from all the movies we watched.
Definitely. And I think to full circle ending, wrap it up, put a bow on top, is that the fact that more men responded or at least were more vocal proved that men do like rom-coms. They just keep it on the down low for their own personal reasons or whatever. But they're not like, oh, rom-com's gross. Maybe some of them are, but I'm like, how can you not like a good rom-com? Plus, I feel like the top 5, just a shout out for all the single people out there. I feel like you could watch those movies on your own, like as comfort movies. Personally, unless you don't like to do that. I watch You've Got Mail by myself quite frequently, actually. And I've come, for all those of you out there who are worried about my emotional well-being and sanity, I've come to peace with the fact that, You've Got Mail may not be number 1 or even number 2, but 3 is the magic number. 3 is the best number.
3 is your favorite number.
3 is my favorite number.
Should have started there anyway. Should have just put it at number 3.
I'm okay because I'm like, really, I'm winning. I'm winning. And Pitch Perfect got knocked out. So I'm okay, guys. You don't have to worry about me.
Thanks for the support. Those of you who have reached out to check on Amelia's well-being. She's doing well. Let's wrap and let's ask the audience for help. We are trying to decide if we're going to do a season 3. We want your input. So we're going to ask you to give us a couple things. I'll let you say the second thing. The first thing we want to know is, should we do season 3? What we do know is we need to take a break for some stuff that we're trying to work through in moving. We're going to be moving, which is going to be a blast. Maybe we'll talk about that later, and the nonsense that our family's getting into, but it's going to be a lot of fun. But we're going to be moving, and so we're going to take a break either way. But what we want to know is, should we do season 3? If you think we should do a 3rd season sharing about something, let us know. Comment on this video. Don't send us separate text messages. Please comment on YouTube. It actually helps our views. The more you comment, like, and share. So please do that. But comment and let us know. Yes, if you want a season 3. No, if you're tired of seeing both of us manipulate the outcomes. We'll accept either one of those without being upset. But we'd like to know if we're going to do it, that you want to hear it and that you think it's worth watching. So give us a vote on that. But we also want to ask something else of you too.
If we do season 3, we want to know what we should do it about, or what's the word? Genre of movies that we could do. Because I'm pretty sure we're both on the idea of doing movies. We've maybe thrown out options here and there. But since we're not the ones, we do watch it, but since you guys are the ones watching it, what would you like to see most? What's the word? I can't think. Words just went out of my head. What are you most?
That's. I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
That's about as ridiculous as a heart squeeze.
I was trying to think of what are you more inclined to see? That's what I'm trying to say.
There you go.
Of movie genre. Obviously not rom-com. We just did that. But
we're done with rom-coms for a while.
So pick a genre. I'm actually excited.
Yeah, and we've talked about several, but we want to hear what they think, and then we'll come out with that. What we are committing to is coming out with a fully fleshed out scoring structure.
Yes.
It will be detailed. It will be written down, and it will be held to. It will be unmanipulatable.
Yeah.
I think that's a word.
Why not?
It is now.
We've already made up 2, I think.
So, with that, genuinely, we're going to keep it on movies because that's how we've been spending time together specifically. And we want to keep that going. So despite the genre, whether it's action or comedy or war movies or inspirational sports, whatever you come up with, you think is a good genre, let us know. We can't wait to hear from it. And I've had a good time doing this. And man, 2 seasons. It was a good time.
Yeah, I'm a little sad that RomComs is over. But I'm ready to step into a whole new world.
Sing it.
With you. That's a great way to end it.
With that, season 2, Feelings in Flannel. Thank you for listening. Thank you for a good time. And if you don't like the 5, go tell someone else about it, I guess.
Cry us a river.
Cry us a river. It is what it is. Thanks for listening. We've had a great time.
Gotta do my classic ending.